Can you hear me now? Yes, you probably can, because I hit unmute, but for some reason it was still muted. So let me start over.
There's something wrong with the sound.
I know, I just fixed it. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Everybody should hear me now. Okay, so I hear myself in Dave's computer. So cool. Yep, it was muted so that way you guys didn't hear me while the sound was playing, the waves. So let's start over. So today is June 20th, 2020. And what I've decided to do was do a mini reading so that way whoever speaks to me, I will put out there. And you guys that are watching live can post a question if you have one. And if you have one, I will get to it after I do the collective spirits that are here. It is possible that the spirit will answer it for you while I'm doing it. But the reason I decided to do it this way is because those of you that have had a reading from me know that what I do has nothing to do with thinking. And I don't want to get distracted by pulling myself in and out of it to read questions, comments, things like that. So even though originally I said I would do it that way, I feel like without an assistant to read the questions to me and operate the computer, it will throw me completely off, and I don't want to do that either. So before we start, when I do a mini reading into the world, so to speak, for privacy purposes, I usually will not use last names. I will give a first name and last initial. And that is because, obviously, depending on what's said, maybe that person doesn't want the world or family members to know their business or know what's going on. So, how do you know it's for you then? Big question, right? Because there's a lot of people, and I keep hearing we got to talk about somebody named Colleen, which is a very common name. Because the information that is said resonates with you. Obviously, there's a lot of people in the world, and a lot of us are going through the same exact thing. And so regardless if their spirit family member or spirit guide is the one that's giving the message, if it relates to you, it relates to you, even if you don't understand who the person is that is stating the message. So, and especially when time is short, because even though we have about an hour for, if it's going to take that long, those that have had a reading knows that an hour seems like 10-15 minutes by the time we're done. Might feel differently via computer, but we'll see, since this will be the first time I'm doing it as an interaction versus just doing a mini reading. So whatever I say, if I close my eyes, I'm just paying attention to somebody, and like I said, I'll get to any questions that you all might put out there, and we'll kind of go from there. If I say something that you feel might be pertaining to somebody that you know, because either the first name and last initial matches, and maybe you kind of have an idea what that person's going through, and so you very well might resonate with you that this belongs to a friend, a family member, somebody, etc. You're in no way obligated to tell that person anything you've heard through this. You can obviously send them the link. You can tell them if you want, but if you do not choose to interact with the person, and there's many reasons why you wouldn't, but if you choose to not do that, that person will somehow, some way hear this message that would come up here into the reading. So, with that said, I'm gonna just go. We're gonna start. All right, so before I logged in, I obviously was kind of getting tuned in, which always happens. And again, those that have had readings by me know that happens a lot. So I just tend to write down what I've heard. I didn't do that. I made everybody wait. So I have a lot of impatient spirits around me right now. So the first person I need to talk about is, sorry, that was very loud. The first person I need to talk about is this Colleen lady. Colleen K. And sometimes there's dual messages, even depending on if who the spirit says that they are. But Colleen K, Colleen W, and Colleen Z, all within the Philadelphia area. So your three grandmoms are surrounding me. And the reason that they're surrounding me as a team is because the three of you tend to ignore all warning signs, whether they're spiritual or whether they're actual real life warning signs, and you keep putting yourselves in the exact same situations over and over and over again. And yet, every time you do that, you tend to turn around and blame everybody else for the actions that you're doing when everything is telling you to not do what you're doing. So each of you are doing some things that are similar with each other. And it's interesting too, as well, because the three of you live within a mile of each other. So you're kind of all circling, but yet you never interact with each other. So you all need to take a moment and take a step back and actually kind of look at what you're doing and the actions that you're performing, because then your whole life will start to change. Colleen K specifically, you tend to become a very big hothead. And when you do that, you don't come down as quickly or even as normally as others would. You tend to hold on to that anger for days, weeks, months at a time. And what that's doing, it's festering within your stomach. And it's why you have a lot of stomach problems. Acid reflux, irritable bowel. From somebody looking at you, they would think that you're quite healthy, you're very fit. You seem to be, very imbalanced in general. But yet, when it comes to your anger, you cannot stop and you cannot hold back. So, start taking some breaths, maybe even sign up for some kind of like boxing class, something physical that can get this anger out of you versus something that would try and calm you down. Because unlike most people who get angry, for you specifically, you need to punch something or kick something. So, but you need to do it in a productive, positive, and safe way. Um, uh, Aunt Peggy is shouting out to all her peeps. She's got a lot of family members. I love her bouffant hairstyle. It always cracks me up whenever I see her because I know who our peeps are. So she popped in to say, hi, my peeps. She misses all of you. She knows you're all doing fine. Some of you are struggling with some health issues. Reduce your stress levels. And your health should start to improve drastically. Those of you that have significant health issues, your stress is what's pulling you down more than environmental factors, even though there are some of those as well. All right, so all right. I'm seeing this very weird image, and those that have had a reading by me, if I see this weird image, it's kind of hard if they don't tell me more about that image. So I'm going to describe, oh, that's what it is. Okay. I was about to describe it, but then the person that's trying to talk to me decided they were going to start using words instead of imagery. So there is a younger male spirit on the other side. His name is John. He's died when he was about 20, between 21 and 23. Also in the Philadelphia area in the early, I want to say, I'm hearing early 1900s, 1925, but there is still people alive that would know who he is. His name is John, if I didn't say that. He was actually killed in a press. And it was one of those kind of presses for clothing, like a fabric or a warehouse that deals with cloth. Um, Specifically, he's saying that his mom is still alive, which means, she has to be significantly up there in age. And he wants her to know that it's okay to let go. She's had some health problems. Her name's Mary. Last name starts with a K. She has some health problems, and she's not letting go out of fear and guilt. The guilt is because she forced her kid to work in this mill of some sort, this factory, and her guilt over all this time has kept her alive. And so she's holding on. So I'm hearing that Jeff C. may have a connection to her through school. So kind of look at the history if you want. If it comes to you when you're talking to somebody, even if it's a year or so from now, you'll remember this and be able to say something. But just let her know that he's waiting for her and that she doesn't have to be afraid anymore. Okay. So Sue N, as well as Sue B as in boy, and Sue P as in Paul. The three of you, I love when they do this in threes, but the three of you all are having health issues, specifically your lungs, due to environmental factors. You all three of you have some mold in the house. You also all have some mold in the ground, which I know, obviously we have mold everywhere outside. But this is slightly different. This seems to be an excessive amount of mold in an area where you travel back and forth, specifically in your backyards. Um, and the way you would know is look for a place that seems to always be flooded or always seems to tend to be damp. Then there's a lot of mold spores there. And the mold that's in the house seems to be between floors. So between rafters, between subfloors, between something. How you would know where is you can have somebody come out and do a mold test, look for moisture or prior moisture, but specifically wait until after some rain, because some are old leaks that for the most part have been addressed, but some of it isn't fully addressed. We gotta talk about somebody else too. I'm getting a headache from this one spirit. But there's ways to fix it and address it. And then once you do, then it'll take about 6 to 8 months before your lungs start to really heal again and clear up. But you have to address both things, inside and outside. And outside is a drainage issue. So if you create a drainage pipe that leads away or, disperses further away from your everyday walking path, then that will calm all that stuff down. Okay. John M. Okay. And yes, you, John. I know you've had a lot of problems, especially recently, well, the past few years with cancer. The stress that you put upon your body because of not feeling good enough, because of not feeling that you're taking care of your family enough, that you just feel as if you failed. And when I'm hearing grandmom saying failed, I'm talking on an epic level. You feel, looking back at your past and looking back at your life, that if you would have just made different choices, there's no way you and your family would be in the situation that you are now. and this is John and Ben Salem, or real close to Ben Salem, because I feel you're not far. It's not true. And you need to start feeling that inside. And one way to know it's not true, because I know you don't believe your family when your family says that it's not true, or that you are enough, or that you've done enough and you're doing everything you possibly can. But the one thing that you can do for yourself is simply say, I'm a good person, which you are. And you do so much for so many people, even when it's not even physically face to face. You try and spend such love and positivity into the world, and it's a little bit so much that it's hard to receive it back in. So when you start to look at yourself and start to realize that you are truly a good person, and just feel that love you're giving back, I want you to return it with just a little bit more within yourself to allow yourself some peace and love. All right. All right, I just had to take a message from my dad, but I'm not going to put it out here on Facebook because or YouTube or whatever. I'll private message you from your mom, from grandmom, which was really nice to see grandmom, which was great. So dad, a private message is coming your way. I don't get to talk to my family very much, which, you kind of think is silly, but in the end, it just is what it is. Okay, so back to where we were. All right, so Robert D, Robert K, and Robert J, and Robert V, as in Victor. Robert V is in California. Robert J is in Texas. Robert D is in New Hampshire. And Robert K is in Jersey. So a little bit all over the country here right now. All right, the three of you all drive trucks, tractor trailers, which I find interesting because my dad does as well. And we just talked about him for a moment. But again, spirits collect and pool their energy to make it easier and also to get as much out there as possible. So the four of you Roberts are truck drivers, and the four of you specifically have a lot of intolerance when it comes to people in general. And it's not a certain type of being racist. It's you just all hate people in general. Understanding how most people handle the roads, I completely understand why you may feel that way. That you see more things than most people would see, and yet at the same time, you hold on to it because it is your defense mechanism for being alone all the time, because then you don't need anybody. And the four of you are currently single. Two of you have been married and divorced. Two of you have had long-term relationships but never have lasted. And it's because you're holding on to this shield of armor of not liking people. And that pushes people away. And yet deep down inside, I know you want that individual connection, that one-on-one. The only way that's going to change for you all without a tremendous amount of struggle is you need to take a step back and change your career. And I get you're all making decent money doing what you're doing because you've been doing it for an extremely long time. But at the same time, that's the only way your life will ever change, and for you guys to be happy without a lot of personal work and a lot of personal growth. And I know how hard that can be, which is why it might be easier to change your career. as specifically to the ones you guys have been thinking about changing to for the last 10 years. Okay. All right. So next, we're going to go with Gen D, Gen O, Gen M as in Mary, and specifically, I'm hearing a Jennifer R. Not Jen, Jennifer. So I need to specifically say that. So your grandpops are all surrounding me at this point. Sorry, I keep making a lot of noise. So all of you tend to stay fixated in your own little boxes, and you don't want to step out of them. For some, it's comfortability. For some, it's just life is in the way and it's difficult to be able to do that, to see past whatever it is that we're going through and what we're doing. For others, it's really, truly just not seeing the bigger picture. But the thing is like, okay, so some of those don't sound like they're bad things, but the problem is by you not stepping out of the box and embracing certain things that are coming your way, then all you're doing is stuck in that same rut. And as you get stuck in that same rut, you don't realize the potential that all four of you have. I think four or five, however many that was. I'm hearing four. So if you don't stay true to yourselves, because all of you are very positive, funny, outgoing people, but you tend to shelter yourselves away for different reasons. So embrace, step out of your box. Let's do it, right? All right. Carlos on the other side, Carlos, Carlos, P as in Paul, he is saying that, who's he saying it to? Give me a moment. So his name is actually Juan, and Juan H as in Harry. But Juan goes by Johnny. And this particular Juan / John, he feels guilty over Carlos's death. He didn't have anything to do with it, so I will put that out there. But yet he feels guilty because he chose not to ride with him that day to wherever they were going, which feels recreational and it feels drug related. But he didn't go with him, and he feels as if he did, then Johnny would be alive today. That's not true. Both of you would be dead if you had gone for that ride. And out of the two of you, Johnny, sorry, he corrected me. Never John, always Johnny. Never Juan, always Johnny. That you had a daughter when he was alive, and then the daughter, you named her Bonita, which is a beautiful name. And that now you have two more kids. And if you would have died, obviously those two other kids wouldn't have been born. But the three kids that are in your life, they understand how terrible your pain is over losing your friend. That all three of these children are going to go on and become big advocates for those that are addicted to drugs and alcohol, as well as one's going to be a social worker specifically for kids whose parents have had arrest or suspicion of drug use. And the third one, the youngest, is actually going to be in between the two of them and going to become the more outspoken within the community, which then creates more potential struggles. So your role at this point, and to honor Juan, or Johnny, sorry, Juan, um, is for you to be your children's biggest supporters. Typically, your wife, it does all that because you're spending a lot of time working and doing what you need to do, but you need to take a step back and you need to support the kids. And when you support the kids, then and only then will you see your true life purpose, because you can work all you want and bring in the money you need to bring in, which you are. You guys live very comfortably for your location and where you live, which I'm hearing is just into Delaware. But you haven't fully embraced your inner purpose. And that inner purpose is truly supporting these children, because these guys, once they start going down their careers, which is soon, the oldest, well, the youngest, I should say, the youngest is about 16, 17. So everybody's starting to find their paths. And they're going to have a lot of struggle, especially your youngest, because there's a lot of potential danger out there for being so outspoken. So find that voice, be your kids' biggest supporters, protect them, and they will soar and give you that purpose that you need. He also wants me to tell you the words. Hold on, he's saying it in Spanish, which I don't know how to say that in Spanish, because I'm very tongue-tied when in English, let alone another language. I don't know what this means, so I'm just going to say it, but I keep hearing Los Cobos or Colbos, something like that. That was something between the two of you, whatever that means, and even if it's simple. Okay. Kathy B, my good friend in Philadelphia, you're coming to me. You got lots of stuff going on right now. You're trying to manage quite a bit between work and personal life. Especially relationships in your personal life. And when I say relationships, every type of relationship. Doesn't matter if it's intimate, doesn't matter if it's kids, doesn't matter if it's family, doesn't matter if it's exes, doesn't matter if it's friends, whatever it is. But I'm hearing that everybody's kind of annoying you right now. And every relationship just feels weird and off. There is obviously a lot going on in the world today, and I know the general message is going to be about all the hate and racism that's going on right now. So that's going to be towards the end. I'll give you that general message, but you're very sensitive, so you're picking up on everybody else's internal stuff, and you're feeling as if it's coming at you, not realizing that it's really not coming at you. That's just their energy and what they're going through. So when you kind of really feel extremely off, white light yourself, protect yourself, and see if you feel better, because I know you will feel better. You also, I know you gravitate towards stones and things like that, but you also need to start surrounding yourself with stones from the stars. Search for planetary stones. That'll help balance you a little bit and keep you a little more balanced. Okay, next. Where do I want to go? Andrea. Andrea B and Andrea G as in girl. So boy and girl. Andrea. So your aunt, Andrea B's aunt and Andrea G's mother, both are named Sarah. Yeah, Sarah. Same last initials for both of them. Your intuition is right that what you think is happening with your significant other in your life is truly true. One is positive one is negative from an intuition perspective. You hold on to things in a way that is possession, even when it's a bad situation, even when you know you should not be a part of it in any way whatsoever. You hold on to it as if it's something you've made or something you've earned or something you bought that cost a lot of money. It stems from your childhood and a particular situation where you had something significant that was an object and it was taken from you. And so when that moment occurred, you held on to that feeling and now you don't want to let go of anything. Both of you are borderline terrible hoarders that you both need to see a psychiatrist or a therapist or even a spiritual person who can communicate more with you in detail. Even a past life regressionist, because we talked, as we saw last time, we can address some things that are affecting us in this life. Hypnotherapist, there's many options out there. Even doing some body work and allowing yourself to get some of those feelings out. But until you do, the relationships specifically the significant other is going to continue to take advantage and continue to, for the one, take advantage. For the other, no matter how positive he is for you, you don't believe in anything that you see, but yet you also don't want to let go of it either because of that possession. And so you need to seek somebody out to get help with that. Because I know from what I'm hearing from your families is that you don't want to feel this way and you don't want to act this way and you don't want to be this way, but yet you tried some things to change that, but not the things that you need to change at all. Okay, next. Oh, there's so many here. Let me see. This one, all right, so this one is going out to a lot of moms that have had miscarriages, abortions, lost babies at very young ages, like days within being born. For moms, all you moms out there, no matter how old you are, when it, that you are now versus when it happened, none of you did anything to cause these small babies, whether they were born or not, to die. Even abortions. And I know that's a sensitive topic for a lot of people. And when I made that statement, I understand people are thinking, well, that was a choice, so they did do something. They didn't. Those babies in those particular situations, the spirit world knows what's going to happen. And they know if a baby's going to be born or not. Or live past a few days. Sometimes a few months. Very rare, but sometimes even the ones that are a few months old. And because of that, the soul never enters the body. And when the soul doesn't enter the body, it's cells that are dying. Doesn't make it any less painful. As a mom, I completely understand, and I feel the ripple as I say these words of moms out there that are feeling that feeling. It doesn't make it any less hurtful and real. The only thing that they want me to tell all of you is that the guilt that you feel over those is not necessary. And that lessening your guilt in those situations, because it truly was nothing that you did to cause your baby to not be born or to cause your baby to die shortly after being born. There are some physical reasons, as to why we can't hold babies in our bellies, um, or even conceive. And those that are having trouble conceiving, since we're on the same topic, seek out a myofascial release therapist and get some belly work done. Because if your stomach's too tight and a baby can't grow in there, or your uterus is too tight to even start the process, or let some eggs fly down, there's many different reasons. Lessen your pain by lessening the guilt. It doesn't stop the pain of losing your child, but it can help with the guilt. And the guilt is what tends to cause us to hold on to some things. Okay, next. Oh, it's already 10:42. All right, I'm going to just kind of see if there's anything specifically I need to say. Diane W., I'm going to let you know that yes, the issues that you're still having is still occurring. That there's just so much gunk going on where you live, and I know you're trying, and I know there's some avenues that you've gone down, and I know there's some avenues that you're working, but in the end, still trying. Also, there's a young male here, he passed when he was about 20, 21, somewhere around there. He wants you to know that, and it's weird because the way he said it is like, we're cool. He wants you to know we're cool. And I don't understand that, because it doesn't feel like he's your child, but yet he feels like a child somehow connection to you. But we're cool is what he keeps saying, and that, he's there to help you if you need it, as a spirit, and you just have to ask, and he'll be there as well. Lisa D., your dad specifically said that, stop comparing men to him. And he jokes around, and he's like, because, I'm one of a kind to begin with. So you can compare, other people, men, to me all the time, but it's never going to match up to your expectations. Because I was a pretty awesome dad, and I was an awesome man. And he wants you to realize that, you have such high expectations based upon this wonderful man. And I'll tell you, everybody, when he tells me this, I feel that energy and I feel that love, and he truly is an awesome guy. I will say that. So, when you stop trying to compare men to him, then the right person, that is in your life, you'll be able to see that person, because you don't think that you're pretty enough, or that you're smart enough, or that you're confident enough. Like, you have very poor self-esteem issues. But, he wants you to know that you are all those wonderful things. And there are people that will see that and know that. But yet, as soon as they come into your life, you don't believe it, because you compare them to him. So he said, in order for your life to continue to move forward in the direction that you want, which is being with somebody and having some children and doing those things, you need to stop doing that. And so he's going to do his best to get you to stop. Every time he feels that you're doing that, he's going to show you sunflowers. I don't know if that's your favorite or his. He's saying both. But sunflowers. When you see sunflowers, kind of feel what you're feeling, what you're thinking, and see if you're feeling these things, because then you can start to change them. And how do you change them? By simply acknowledging what you're feeling, and not continue to shove it down and stick it inside and hold back, because that's how we get stuck. Everything's energy, guys, right? So you're going to hold on to that kind of energy, you're going to get stuck within it. Okay. Let me see where we want to go here from here. I keep hearing the name Roger over and over and over again. But Roger wants to give the next message of clarification. Henrietta says hi as well. Switching to Henrietta, which is funny because I know who Henrietta is. Henrietta is a very special spirit that I met a long time ago through actually Rose, which I know a lot of you guys have seen her make comments through this thing. She's not connected to Rose. She was actually connected to Rose via a next door house situation. Henrietta is a very special spirit to me. Henrietta came into my life many, many years ago. Henrietta in life was a male who resonated as female, and she was murdered for her being a female in a male's body. Her real name was Henry. She changed it to Henrietta back in a time when it socially was not acceptable in any way. And it still is painful for me, as well as her, that our society is still judging people and hating people who just want to be who they feel they are and love who they want to love, look how they want to look, and yet our own insecurities inside us cause us to not accept people like Henrietta. So, yeah. So Henrietta's here, which I'm glad she's here. She just wants me to say that to the world, that in the end, everybody just wants to be loved. Everybody wants to feel love. Everybody wants to give love in their own comfortability of their own skin within themselves. And which leads into racism, which is the general message that Roger wants to speak about. And Roger specifically, his name is Roger, it's very unique. Starts with an H. I'm just going to spell it only because I can't really get it. So, and I don't want to take too much time trying to think about it. So it's Roger, Heligerberbaughh. He specifically, in his time, was a huge racist. Huge. He did things that he is not proud of. And the things that he's showing me makes me sick to my stomach. He has since, upon passing, learned the errors of his ways and is providing this message to the world. Everyone's talking about how to stop racism, how to stop brutality, how to stop all this terrible thing. Yet no one's looking at themselves. No one is looking at truly who they are and the insecurities that we bring to the table, which then brings up our own judgments and our own assumptions, whether those assumptions are good or whether they're terrible. And because we all, a lot of us, want certain levels of peace and it's not right, and we support those that are being treated a certain way, at the same time, some of us are doing it because it's the political thing to do. Some of us are doing it because they truly feel like, well, that is the right thing to do. But yet, depending on a situation 5 minutes down the street after sharing such, wonderful positivity, 5 minutes down the street, have some form of interaction that completely negates all of that because of their own insecurities that chimed in that instant to then create an additional ripple of hate into the world. So to truly stop We all need to start within ourselves. And when we all respond differently and all move forward with love and compassion, no matter what somebody looks like, no matter what they're going through, no matter the color of their skin, no matter what, see their inner beauty of love and energy, and then yours will shine out too. But until we do that, there's so much hate in this world, and it only seems to be getting worse. We'll have pockets of good positivity and wonderful support towards a particular person or a group of people. And then next thing we know, we're all hating again. How many people out there hate Trump? How many people out there hate those that don't support Trump? How many people hate so many other people for no reason other than maybe they don't even have, the right color hair. So, they don't like them. Because hate can also be not liking something in a person, which then eventually turns to hate, which isn't okay. So the empaths of the world, including myself, we feel these ripples of hate, and it's very overwhelming. So start to look at ourselves, start to come in here, start to be here, and then we can all start to change the world and start to heal the world as well. It just takes one act of kindness that then starts to ripple within ourselves, additional acts of kindness. Okay, so I felt like I rambled a little there because that's what the spirits do to me. What time is it? All right, we got a few minutes. So I'm going to scroll through the messages real quick to kind of look to see if there was any comments there that I need to bring up. There were so many spirits to talk to that it was very difficult to get through all of them. If you would like to book a session, you can do so through my website. You'll see my availability and be able to align it with your schedule. My availability is a little tight right now. For those of you that don't know, I am also getting my master's in mental health counseling, specifically so I can work with children to help them with their spiritual abilities and help change the mental health mindset regarding bipolar disorder, schizophrenia disorder, and ADHD disorders. Those typically are spiritual abilities and connections. So I want to be able to help children not be put onto these diagnoses, which usually ends in either medication that does affect our brain development in some ways, as well as leading towards substance abuse and drugs. So, and suicide. So I want to stop all that from an earlier age. So hopefully parents don't have to feel what I went through when I lost Morgan. So with that said, I am in my internships. So, and I'm lucky enough that I am at a group home for teenagers. So I am able to work with kids. And so my schedule is limited. So don't get discouraged if you look and my availability shows I'm like a month out. You can always schedule it and then put in a comment if I get it canceled to let you know. And then I could reach out and let you know if I get it canceled before your next appointment. The options also are not only a phone. Eventually we'll do face-to-face. That's a question I've been being asked lately about COVID and when am I going to open up the office here. I'm personally waiting to open up within in-session appointments until about mid-July. Obviously, the spirit world has told me a lot about COVID, and before it all went down, I was feeling quite a bit of something about to happen that was going to affect masses of people, and for everybody's safety, I prefer to wait until mid-July and see what happens in general. So yeah, let's take a look at some of these comments. I didn't put them on screen for my YouTube people right away because I wasn't looking over here. All right, so let's throw some up here. That's my dad. Anybody who knows me. All right. Then we got empty. Tess is my stepmom. She's awesome. Oh, why that disappeared so quickly. Love and light to John. Thanks, Carol. It's needed. So Tess, I did work on her back. Her back was killing her for myofascial release. And hey, Jen. Hey, Jim. All right. So I must have said something to Kathy in this message. When I do messages, I never remember what I tell people. So, what did you say about Rose and next door? Weird, that touched me. I met a spirit named Henrietta from a person that I met years ago when I used to work full time at Charming Shops. And there I was many things, but when I ended, a process manager for process improvements. And I met Rose through the company, and she had some issues with her house. Specifically, light bulbs would break all the time, hard time sleeping, surges of electricity, doorknobs, and things would break all the time. And so she asked me to kind of come out and take a look. And while I was there, she not only had a spiritual pathway that ran through her house, um, but which was causing the light bulbs and the energy surges, the light bulbs breaking the energy surges. Um, and then the doors was about a couple different issues, but Henrietta was a spirit tied to one of her neighbors at the time. That person no longer lives there. And the tie that she had with that neighbor was um, the neighbor's family member was one of the ones that beat her to death. And so it wasn't that she was haunting the lady next door because of the actions of her family member, which I don't recall. She was saying her husband and brother. So there was a couple people tied to her, and that but it was just to add peace into their life, to try and change the hate that they had towards somebody who was transvestite. And when I met her, the love and compassion that she shined through, especially towards this family that contributed to her death, was so amazing and so overwhelming, as well as she was very excited to be able to talk to somebody who was actually seeing and hearing her, because what the spirits tend to find is that the people that they see on a regular basis that can communicate don't. And here I was having a conversation with her, and she loved it. So that was Henrietta's story. Um, let's see. Happy Saturday to you, Mary Jo. Hi, Kath. Hi, Veronica. Good morning, Israel. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, and I apologize if I said it wrong. Allie, do you do field readings all the time or only during the... No, I do them all the time as well. Sometimes it's just a little hard to get, into an office. So I will do phone readings. I also have the option to do readings via email, where you can choose a certain number of questions and ask those questions, and then I just provide the information for email. That's easier. Whenever I do readings, I always tell people to record it, because I will never remember what I tell you, and I'm sure you'll miss something. So yeah, phone readings will always be there. May incorporate more phone readings via FaceTime or Zoom or something like that, to have more of a face-to-face. I found that doing that during the pandemic, I was also able to see things that were going on in people's houses because I was seeing past them and doing some house clearings while at a distance as well. Hi, Deb. I haven't seen you in forever. You're welcome, Cheryl. Hi, Kath. I hope you're well too. Oh, Kathy. As soon as I saw your name, your grandmother popped in and she wants to tell you real quickly. And I know I said I wouldn't call people out and I apologize, but this is actually a good thing. She wants me to tell you that over the next 8 to 9 months, there's some big changes coming your way, and they're really big. But they're all good things. They are truly where you want to be and who you want to be with you within life. So you got a lot changing, my friend. So keep an eye out for them. Embrace them. Don't be discouraged. If you think it's about to happen and it doesn't happen, um, yeah, 6 to 8 months, you'll start to see those changes. Let them happen. Don't force them. Don't fight them. Just keep doing what you normally do, your happy, positive self, and everything will start to come through. Okay, let's see. Last one we have. Yes, Susan. Yes. You need a lot, my friend. You need a lot of both of those things. So, we could talk for 2 hours spiritually, and from a body perspective you need at least 30 minutes, so an hour preferably, but at least 30. So all right, I went over by a couple minutes, everybody. So it was good seeing you. Next week I'm going to talk about abilities, specifically the different types of abilities, and I'm going to open this up to kids as well. YouTube has restrictions that if a video isn't specifically for kids, they don't let you do them, or at least post them. So I will be putting out there for next week just general information about abilities. What are they? How do you feel when they're active? What do they look like, not only from your own self but from other people? And I'm going to try and touch base on at least the core ones. And if I can get into some of the more interesting and deeper ones, then I will. But so those of you with kids that have any kind of night terrors, ADHD, bipolar, even teenagers, schizophrenia, any of those things I was saying earlier, but then also night terrors or just can't sleep at night, is always exhausted. Most likely they have abilities, and so watching next week would be very good as well. So until next week, everybody enjoy your weekend. All you fathers out there, happy Father's Day, and I will see you next week.